from that background is because I have relatives and friends who are married, and I'm from the coastal part of Kenya, which is extremely traditional. But I know people who, their husbands get home, and if they're number one in the house, they cook. And I also have male friends who really love cooking, and they say, you know what, even if I get married, I'll be in the kitchen, and my wife can do other things. But I also come from a background where it's a cultural thing. So, a girl is expected to do the things that you're talking about, washing hands and doing all that. So I wouldn't chastise anyone if they choose to. Like, I also know women or friends who are like, the moment I get married and I have a family, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I want my husband to be the provider. What I do advocate for is people to have the choice, and society not to judge you for making the choice that you make. If your husband wants to be a stay-at-home dad and you're the provider, then who are we to judge? That system works for you, and you should run with it. Like, I have a 5-year-old niece who's extremely feminine. I think I love it because I'm also extremely feminine, and she wants to wear a princess dress, and she wants to have a tutu, but she's also very curious. So if you leave her in a room with your electronic gadget and you walk in 5 minutes later, you'll find it dismantled. And I'm like, let her have that. When she grows up, if she wants to be an engineer who goes to the office and think, so be it. Yes. That's her, that's her path, and she should feel okay doing it. And I've been in some spaces where they say, oh no, don't let her wear pink. And she enjoys it. And I also have a friend whose 6-year-old niece loves the color blue and doesn't want anything feminine. And I'm like, it's okay. Just choose your path and be okay with it, and accept, and let nobody judge you for the path that you choose.
There has been improvement, because of course I wouldn't compare myself to what my grandmother did. Because back then, we had days where they could hold IDs, you could not open a bank account without your spouse's consent. So with over time, there has been improvement. But of course, there's still so much to do, to be done rather for our daughters and generations to come. Because as you said earlier, some of these things are so in us. Like, you find if you're in a room and it's all men and there's maybe tea to be served, you find the woman, without being asked, if there's a woman in the table, she almost feels like she is the one to serve the men. You could find it's a board meeting, it's all men and women, but you find, so there's that, I don't know what it is, but based on how we've grown up, how we've been socialized all the time, we feel like as a woman I need to be the one to serve, when really anyone can serve, So there's still much to be done, but I can say there has been improvement. Girls are getting more opportunities in STEM fields. There's so much campaign for girls to explore, and as Jerry said, they now have choices.
Culture is a big thing. And the thing about culture is it also comes with heritage. So like the culture I come from, a woman who serves her husband, who takes care of the kids, who basically abandons all ambitions that she ever has for her home and her husband, it's seen as a thing of prestige. And if you've been brought up in that setup, then here is someone coming and telling you, you should do A, B, C, D. Then there's an internal struggle with that person. It's like, should I go this way? Should I go this way? In Swahili, we are saying that mwachamila ni mtumwa, and translated to English is like, if you abandon your culture, then you're a slave. So there's always that struggle of, do I stay with my culture? And should it be a point of pride, or can I go my own route? And it's always a struggle. But as much as there's that, I also am very alive to the fact that there are some places where you don't even get to the point of having that struggle. Where this path is laid out for you, you're told to not divert from this path, because if you divert from this path, you'll destroy the world, basically. So, and again, that's the culture that I come from the coastal part of Kenya. It's like, as a woman, there's certain things that you should do, and you should not deviate from it. And yeah, there's no discussing it.
There has been significant progress, but I think as Joy and Miss Coates correctly articulated, there's so many things that influence why we do the things that we do. But in terms of the gender role, I feel all this really is more of like a socialization process, because again, how you're socialized, and I think even some of this gender packet with words is women who make it, like perhaps how Joy is saying, you're educated, you're working in a good company, like the expectations you've already ticked off, but then they're like, you're not married, there must be something inherently wrong with you. But I feel like, and sometimes that would be actually, the pressure would be coming from a fellow woman, because she's like, I cannot believe, like, you know, you're letting yourself waste. Like, they will even kind of throw like, I need a guy to you, because they're like, there must be something wrong with you, but they're just, so I feel like sometimes also just how you're socialized, really, because for me, I think my biggest issue is, again, having grown up with all girls, if I go to a setting and they're guys, I won't feel the expectation to serve someone, but someone actually called it out to me. He was like, it's almost like, and this is someone else's house. So you can imagine I'm just going, perhaps maybe I'm your girlfriend, and then there's an expectation that I should serve you. So for me, that totally blew me out of my mind, because I'm like, even if you come to my parents' house and the food is all served there, you will go and get it for yourself. So I feel we also have to take a deliberate effort, especially when now we're raising the next generation. Just try and take steps not to tell your children, whether it's a boy or a girl, you can't do this. Like, I think the boys are very artistic, who perhaps maybe feel they are more artsy than society wants to be comfortable with, but I don't think it's for us to say, don't do this, like push you more to the stethoscopes and to, you know, electrolytes. Because, yeah.
As you're speaking, I just had a light bulb moment. It all comes down to identity, you know, and socialization is what helps you build your identity. So, and I've been in a forum where there was a girl who actually said she wanted to get cut, but she didn't. So for her, it was like, every other girl in my village has gone and gotten cut, and society looks at them very differently, as opposed to you who hasn't been cut. And until people decide to address that identity issue, it's gonna be its issue, where it's going to continually be an issue, because people are associating their being with this specific identity, and that's why we have issues of radicalization. That's why we have issues of, you know, kids rebelling against their parents, because there's that issue of identity. And I think in African society, your identity is defined for you, and you're supposed to fit into it, as opposed to you defining who you are. So you find a lot of people who have an identity crisis, you know. Like, one of the things that we do at our organization is talk about emotional intelligence, you know. And I remember, in fact, we just came from a training where the facilitator was talking about you being a master of yourself before you can master your environment. And I've seen, actually, I wish I was in a kindergarten program when I was in high school, because there's some things now that I'm able to sift through and be okay with as I am now. But when you should have taught me 3 or 4 years ago, I would have struggled with. Very simple example, you know, for example, running after, you know, like I'm currently building my career, and that's a point of pride for me. In future, I want to own my own foundation to help girls, and just being comfortable with that, not allowing people to look at me and be like, oh, so now you want to be an activist for women, and being okay with it, because I know where that passion is coming from. But had you talked to me maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I wouldn't want to voice that, because society, at least the culture that I come from, you're not allowed to speak, you know, to some of those things.
I think one thing, sorry to just jump in, I feel like, especially if we don't address this, as you're saying, when you're young, there's this expectation, and it's a complete fallacy. Like, why expose girls to school? Then when they reach a certain level, you have to like almost limit your ambition, because society will not expect you to be the CEO of like a big foundation, because people will tell you won't find the right man, like no man would want that kind of competition. But we should stop telling girls that, and we should tell them like live to your full ambition. And honestly, if a guy cannot deal with that, he clearly is not the right man for you to even start with. So I feel like sometimes we kind of curtail girls' dreams and ambitions and hopes because there's this grand expectation that a girl has to be this. But perhaps maybe she doesn't have that, she doesn't want that. It's just that society is pushing that down her throat. But I still feel like yes, women can have the family, you can have the children, and you can have the career. And you can decide perhaps I just want the career, perhaps I just want the family. But let that be your choice. Don't let society and how you're socialized or your gender roles and stereotypes make that decision for you.
I think in the same sense, in terms of now where we are at, there's still much to be done in terms of involving men in this whole conversation. Because you find, like the example Kate is giving, where you're in a room with men and you're expected to serve them tea, and one will even call out on you, and you're the woman, you're coming. Some us, but we need to involve them in that conversation so that it's clear from both ends that don't have this certain expectation of a woman. Just because I'm a woman does not mean I need to serve you. And then in terms, fathers empower your girls as much as you're empowering your boys, so that there is that